I just saw that Apple
great.
Intelligence picture of Irfan. Is that supposed to? No, that's not supposed to be you, is it? Or is it? Who is it?
Oh yeah,
What
that's
is
me.
you? Oh
If
God!
it scared you
You
terribly.
looks like you got a 30,000 volt electric shock. God, a great service.
Yeah, the power of Image Playground. I feel
You know,
like I just go on that theme all year, to be honest with you, because it's just so comically bad. And we're live, I think. Oh, Paradise was here looking for us yesterday. Yeah, we were 1 day late, $1 short, aren't we? Is that how the saying
more than
goes?
one, several dollars short. I'm still not seeing the tweet.
Oh, that's
every
because
time I reload, I see that picture again.
Oh, you want the tweet
it's
action?
terrifying.
There you go, Liz. Take that tweet, put it in your tweet pipe, and just smoke it.
So I'm just gonna copy that.
All right, copy that.
Drop that and just deliver it and see.
Oh man, let's wait for some more people. We got Caveman here. We got some people rolling in. I got a little pre-show banter I could do for those of you as we're waiting.
I need an image, and the good news is I think I have one.
Why does it say no one's here? I see some people in the chat, but YouTube says no one's here, and I don't know why. But if you are here, can you give us a thumbs up? Let me know that you're here. And also help to boost us in the algorithms so that people who are considering going to endure 4 hours of the talk show can see that there's another choice for their life. We got Wes Beeson here. Dude, that's a very exuberant hello, happy new year. Yeah, happy 2025, y'all. It's exciting, we made it. 2025. Sorry we're a day late. So yesterday was my son's birthday. And we decided to go to a museum in Everett, Washington. This place is a sleeper, man. I didn't even know this museum was there. It was started by Paul Allen, and it is basically like a World War II museum, but with all sorts of like heritage military equipment, tanks, all sorts of stuff, like super cool equipment. And all the airplanes there are fully functional. So they maintain the entire fleet of airplanes, like all like the dogfighters and everything. And every year they take some of them out and fly them all around. It's like when you go in there, there's mechanics there. They have like the engine compartment taken apart, and like they're in there maintaining the airplane. It's unbelievable. And in 2025, in fact, I should look it up. I should give them a plug. In 2025, they made the museum free. So you don't even have to pay anymore. And they say they have people flying in from all over the world because they have certain airplanes that are literally the last ones left. You just can't see them anywhere else. And it's called the Heritage in Arms Museum, I think. Let me see if I can find it. The Flying Heritage and Combat Armor Museum in Everett, Washington. And when my wife was telling us about this, like she told me it was free, and I was like, oh boy, this place is gonna suck. But then we got there, and I was blown away. I was like, this is like a professional museum that Paul Allen started. He put a lot of his own personal collection into this museum. And as it says on their website, beginning January 2nd, 2025, it's completely free. And it is so cool. I mean, and so, I've said that like 10 times, so well done. They have movies that show you different historical accounts of World War II, and they'll show like this dogfighter like flying over to Germany, like blowing planes down, and then they superimpose like their own airplane, which is in the museum, like into the footage, and it's like, whoa, there's the plane. I just saw that plane, dude. It's so cool. Maybe we want to learn more about like American history, but anyway, that's where I was yesterday, so we couldn't do the show yesterday. But if you ever come to Seattle or the Seattle area, definitely go to the Flying Heritage and Combat Armor Museum. They got like outfits like from like Nazi Germany and like the U.S. and like tanks and motorcycles. There's like an original Harley Davidson. I mean, all sorts of like really cool stuff. All right. Wow, that's not what you're here to see. Awesome. Dude, they're so cool. I just saw that plane that they're showing there. And when you see some of these planes, it's like you go inside them. Some of them you can go inside. It's like being in a cave. It's completely dark. They had no pressurized planes or heating systems. Like you're up at like, I don't know, 10,000 feet. You're freezing. You're pulling who knows how many G's. There's dudes shooting at you everywhere. And you're like stuck inside this metal tube, you know.
It's made of what, like aluminum or something?
I don't even know. Probably steel. But
I bet it's aluminum.
maybe. And the best planes were the ones that they said could take the most bullet holes and still get you home. But it's like, dude, you're flying a plane that is being shot at. And it's being, you know, littered with bullet holes. And you're like, you know, flying this plane all around. You're blowing up enemy airplanes and dropping bombs. And then the thing gets you home. And a lot of these planes, I mean, weren't even full metal fuselages. Part of them were cloth. And with a lot of these planes, if you got shot, they would just cover up the bullet hole with cloth and send you back up. You know, it's crazy.
I remember something about that. They were saying like the designs that could take the bullets, they were the best because they could take it.
Yeah, exactly. They would actually get you
like,
home.
That was a sign of good engineering or something.
Not only that, but like back then, there were no computers. So all these planes were designed by like guys with calculators and slide rules. And it's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Not even calculators now in World War II.
Oh, did I say calculators? I meant
Digital
pen
ones,
and paper or pencil and paper. Yeah.
Slide
Anyway.
rules. Wow, cross section of a tank.
Oh,
Split
yeah, man.
down the center.
It actually, a lot of it reminded me of like an Indiana Jones movie. Because like all the equipment used in those movies is like of this era, right? And then you go and it's like, holy cow. It's like, there's the Harley Davidson that Indiana Jones rode in The Last Crusade, right? It's like, it's not the exact one, obviously, but it looks just like it. And all just sorts of crazy military equipment. And you just really, you have no idea how big a tank is until you see it in person. And I don't know if you ever held like a cast iron pan in your hands, like how thick and like how the texture of it is like not uniform. It almost looks like it was like pasted on at some point. Like that's like the top section of the tank where the gun is attached. Like that whole thing is just like one 85,000 pound cast iron pan. Like that thing is just impenetrable. And then you look inside and it's like, how did they fit 4 guys in here? Like, you know, and how did you see? You had like one
slightly
They're like
thinner
early
back then.
1900s tiny guys who are probably like malnourished, you know?
That's true. That's true. But like, and then it's like, how did they see? And there's like one little slit in the whole tank where the guy can see. You know, he's like driving around like this. So it's like, that's all you can see in this whole tank. You can't see behind you. You can't see this side. It's unbelievable, man. Anyway, this is not what you guys came here to hear. Or is it? I don't know. Let's move on. I think we're ready to go, aren't we? Well, if we're not, we are now. Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. We got all sorts of Apple stories, and we're already like an hour and a half behind. So if you don't mind, Mrs. D. Oh, Mrs. D, are you there? Oh, Mrs. D. Oh, my dear. I'm so tired after 24 hours of New Year's lovemaking with El Caney. Oh, my goodness. Lewis, that's one way to kick it in.
Distasteful.
And it's gross. Mrs. D, no one wants to hear about that. If you don't mind, we want to go ahead and hop into this week's best Apple stories. Look at this. We got a full show here. Lots of people showing up. So let's get this thing rolling in 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Aaron Paul. Joining me today is kicking off 2025 with an improved Cult of Mac headquarters security system, including robotic dogs from Boston Dynamics, several real dogs which will guard the writing room, and Dog the Bounty Hunter on retainer in case any writers manage to slip away at the dead of the night. He's a managing editor of Cult of Mac. As well as is here.
It's Simply Safe Deluxe in beta.
Also with us this year, he'll be upgrading to the Newton Message Pad 2100, boasting 162 megahertz SA110 RISC processor and vastly improved handwriting recognition system. He expects his productivity to skyrocket at least 4%. He's a writer at Cult of Mac. Griffin Jones is here.
Good evening. My Newton Message Pad 2000 already has been upgraded internally to a 2100.
Really?
Although it doesn't have the updated case design. Yeah, it was a popular upgrade. For
Did you do
all
that yourself?
12 Apple Newton 2000 owners.
Popular upgrade.
He's not joking.
Popular, relatively speaking. Like popular for Apple in the 90s was like 12 people.
By the way, I apologize if you hear me hacking. I, of course, am sick. Not too sick, but I caught a little something. I was at a friend's house and over New Year's, and then right when we got there, his kids got sick, and I was like, oh, great, here we go. And then I had a few ales, and I was like, this is probably not a good idea. And I was right. It's never a good idea to drink when you're around people who are sick. I didn't even drink that much, but I did have a few, and now I'm sick. So kicking off the new year with a little bit of a cough and a scratchy throat. It's very scratchy. I hope you all feel bad for me.
Very popular on the West Coast, and like literally popular.
No,
almost everybody I know is or has been sick.
Yeah, I know. Same thing with around here. But the show must go on, as they say. And we got a ton of stuff to talk about. We are going to, let me just bring this up. We're going to be talking about the hottest Apple tech of 2025. These are going to be our most hotly anticipated items that we're looking forward to in 2025. We've got some new intel on the iPhone 18 Pro. We have a way for you to get Apple TV Plus for free, but it's only for a limited amount of time. But it's probably enough to watch Silo. Silo is completely released. we have a new
sneaky method this one is.
It's a new way that only we know about. Let's see here. Griffin's going to tell us about an update, a huge update, allegedly coming to the redesigned Apple Mouse. And we're gonna finish off our top picks and anti-picks of 2024. I feel like we didn't do nearly enough of these wrapping up the year. I'll be doing my best thorough Ravenscroft impression. Oh yeah, wait, it's great. How about that? Little Tony the Tiger action. Before we dive in, I should probably bring up my notes here, huh? That would be useful. Oh yeah, whew! I'm glad I did that. They're back, my friends. And if you missed out on taking advantage of heading over to our sponsor, Factor Meals. Oh, hold on a second. I got to bring this up, and how come it's not showing up in my browser mode? Hold on a second. Don't get your undies.
2025. I thought all this was worked out.
Oh, all of a sudden it works. Okay. I must have been typing something wrong. If you didn't take advantage of our sponsor, Factor Meals, now's your chance. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. They are one of my favorite sponsors. And their food is absolutely delicious. It's never frozen. So it's like having takeout food in your fridge at all time. They got a bunch of different options, delicious food. And like I said, if you haven't tried them out, this is your chance. If you're ready to optimize your nutrition for the year, here it is. You need to head over there. Factor has chef-made, gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to eat in less than 2 minutes. So you can fuel up and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Check this out. You can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto Meals. Now, this is the one I'm most interested in trying. That was based on a randomized controlled clinical trial with Factor Keto. Now, of course, your results will vary depending on diet and exercise. Don't think you can be cramming M&Ms every night and lose 8 pounds. But I really want to try doing keto for 10 weeks. I want to try and see if I can do it and see how I feel and see what my muscle mass does during that time. And I was actually thinking maybe I could just do this with Factor Meals because the hardest part about keto, you got to eat exactly right to do keto. Otherwise, you get kicked out of ketosis and it doesn't work. More on that later. Well, maybe not. Stop hacking. I'm trying to tell them about Factor. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/CultCast50off and use code CultCast50off. By the way, that's the number 50, CultCast50off. To get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code CultCast50off at factormeals.com/CultCast50off and get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. And, you know, food's expensive these days. This is a great deal, and you'll absolutely love it. I typically go with the Protein Plus, which is a huge hunk of meat covered with a delicious sauce and a side of vegetables. And I love having these around. My only problem is that my wife and kids keep eating them. So I'll come in and like the ones that I was going to eat are gone, which is a me
It's
problem.
because they're just so good. They're just so
It's
good.
because they
It's like a superpower if you work in an office and you never know what to get for lunch every day. Like, you just bring one of these with you and then it's, bam, 2 minutes, lunch is settled.
lunch is settled. TM. Okay,
Takes the stress out of it.
let's go ahead and dive right in. We have some new intel on the 2026 iPhone 18 Pro and its potential game-changing feature here: a variable aperture camera, which is extremely useful in any camera. And I love this picture that we have with Lewis grinning as big as can be in the background there. How did they get you to do that, Lewis? I don't know.
Oh God, it's a reused photo. I'm not happy
I
about
thought
it.
maybe it was AI. I'm like, why does Lewis look so happy here? This has got to be AI.
That's a giant iPhone 15 Pro Max. Too big for a case.
You know what? I picked up my iPhone 15 Pro Max yesterday, the one I need to sell, and I was like, people, I actually miss this phone.
Oh
I don't
my
miss
God,
I don't
here we
miss
go.
carrying it around, but I missed the screen. That screen was glorious. All right, in a recent Medium post, TF International Securities Analyst Ming-Chi Kuo said he thinks Apple will adopt a variable aperture system in the iPhone 18 Pro's primary camera in 2026. A variable aperture does a lot of stuff. It helps you control how much light hits the sensor. It can help dynamic range, but it helps with depth of field, right? So how blurry or not blurry are the items in your image. Now, it's interesting because the iPhone already employs an artificial depth of field technology that artificially blurs the background, and it's okay. I don't think it looks as good as a lens that has a large aperture does, but, in any case, let's see here. I already said a bunch of this stuff about what aperture does for you. Last July, Kuo predicted that the iPhone 17 would get a variable aperture system, but now he thinks the feature won't arrive until 2018 or 2026 with the iPhone 18 Pro. So if you want it, you have to go into the past in 2018 and get it there. So good luck with that. I think this is interesting only because with a very small lens like that, or I should say with a very small sensor, controlling the aperture will make a difference, but I don't foresee it making a big difference. Because apertures or lenses that are, I can't even talk today. Sensors that are small have a greatly reduced depth of field, which means it's hard to make the background blurry. I mean, typically, if you want to blur background, you need to have the right lens, but you also need to have a large sensor. And with a sensor as small as it is in the iPhone, I don't really know that the aperture is going to make that much of a difference for depth of field control. Now, maybe it will make a difference in controlling brightness. In fact, it will, which is useful because you can use the aperture instead of using ISO, which typically makes an image look worse if you crank it too high. But so I think that this will have an effect on your photos taken on the iPhone. I just don't know to what degree.
I bet
so
it'll
I'll be
probably
curious to
be
see that.
more about controlling the brightness because your phone has no way of like, aside from like digitally like turning down the exposure and stuff like that, or it doesn't really have like a solid optical mechanism for reducing the brightness. It's just taking in all of the light that hits the sensor all of the time, which is why some of the outdoor photos can look blown out or weird and why it has to use a bunch of computational photography to make up for the fact that it doesn't have that. There are a few situations though where having a variable aperture to adjust the like depth of field would be handy though, because certain iPhone features need a very wide depth of field, like with the entire frame in focus at once. Like if you want to apply like like the cinematic video mode, it needs the widest depth of field it can possibly have, because the whole point of cinematic video is that you can choose, after the fact, which part of the frame you want to be in focus or not. And you can't make anything sharper. You can't make anything sharper if it's already blurry in the background. So having a wide depth of field is very handy in those situations. Whereas, counter that with portrait mode where, you want to have a very shallow depth of field. So like I can see the use case for there, but I think a bigger part of it will probably be for like adjusting like the amount of exposure that comes into the image, because that could reduce the amount of like computational photography weirdness that your phone has to do after the fact after you take a shot.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it will blur it to a certain degree, and then the computational photography can do the rest. This is why Apple needs their own actual camera. I mean, that thing would be absolutely unstoppable. The iPhone, I mean, I've taken so many, I mean, I've been playing around with the Fujifilm X106, as many of you probably are well aware. And that camera's, it's good. I'm frustrated with it in many ways, but I also am still enjoying using it and trying to get used to it and its weird quirks. But I was looking at pictures of it in low light situations and in very bright situations versus what I took with my iPhone. And I'm like, dude, the iPhone is just so effortless. It takes really great pictures in both low light situations and in very bright situations. Pictures that a normal mirrorless camera just couldn't match because the dynamic range is not computational. And so it relies on the sensor's ability to capture, you know, very dark and very bright together. And most sensors don't do that very well unless you want to spend $50,000 on an Arri cinema camera and shoot it in log and then color grade it. You know, like then you can get a really great picture. But the iPhone is able to do those pictures well, not perfectly, but then also some of the pictures look synthetic sometimes because it's just trying too hard. So if Apple did their own camera, that would be like the best of both worlds. I seriously think it would be the best camera that is probably on the market if Apple did that, because no one's
Like,
doing computational as well as them.
There was like a viral TikTok a few weeks ago of like somebody taking pictures of somebody else on the beach, and like a sunny day on the beach is a very challenging, even though there's a lot of light, it's a very challenging situation because like, you know, the sun, you have the sun on a bright day that can like blow out anything that you point at it, and then you have like the sand, which is also highly reflective, and the water. Like it's a challenging situation for a camera. And somebody was like, their TikTok was just like, why is it that when I take a picture of somebody on a beach, their skin looks gray? And it's because they're shooting like against the sun in the backdrop, and the iPhone just has to like raise the shadows so much where there isn't any actual color information there, and it just makes your skin look gray and weird. Like there are situations where a variable aperture could potentially help in that situation because the iPhone just has to do so much work to make a good picture. And Apple's like ethos is that the iPhone should always take a picture, like nothing should ever be blown out or too dark in an iPhone's camera picture. You should always be able to see something there, even when it can't really turn out anything.
Even though it doesn't
good.
look great. And I think that doesn't look great part of it is what I notice most often. It's like, oh, it created an image where everything is exposed properly, but the colors look terrible or it looks over-sharpened or something. The one thing that the iPhone does really well, I don't know if Samsung devices do this or any Android devices. I don't even know if Google does this, but the ability for the computational HDR to like brighten a face but not the scene behind it, that feature is, I think, revolutionary. I don't know if there's any camera that can do that. And that is what you want, because when you're standing against a scene, most cameras, well, all cameras pretty much will brighten the entire picture or none of it, right? But like iPhones will just look at your face and your hands and your skin, and it's like, oh, we're going to just bring that up a little bit to make your face brighter. Like that's something I used to do in Lightroom. And the computational does that on its own, and then it keeps the background properly exposed, which I think creates a much better image. And if Canon or Fujifilm or Sony ever match that, that would be a huge improvement in mirrorless photography. Anyway, we don't have to linger here too long.
I will say about that really quickly that like the iPhone 16 lines with the photographic styles feature, they try to emulate that. It's not very discoverable, but you can change the undertone style, and that specifically affects how it handles skin tones, not the rest of the image. But you have to know about it and figure it out, and it's kind of impossible.
Spend time figuring it out. God,
it's not easy.
I've never messed around with any of that.
But the feature is technically there.
I think they're trying to chase Fujifilm on that, because one of the reasons people love Fujifilm cameras is because they have like these cinematic styles. So Fujifilm used to make film, and they have baked those filmic looks into their digital cameras, and they actually look great. And so that's one of the reasons why people love Fujifilm cameras, is because they're able to create unique looks, and you can tweak them and stuff in camera. And they're easy because once you do it in camera, you don't have to like take it into Lightroom or Photoshop and mess with it there, because ain't nobody got time for that. But this feature from Apple is trying to emulate that. I think they're like, oh, people really like this feature. Like, let's build it in. I have played around with it on the iPhone. I like it. I think it actually makes photos look more interesting. I don't use it all the time. In fact, I forget that it's there a lot because there's so much going on in the camera app. But it is worth messing around with if you actually care how your photos look. Most people don't care. And like,
you can even make all the colors oversaturated like a candy shop, like an Android phone.
yeah, you could do that if you wanted to. I don't know why you would, but all right. Should we move on? I feel like we talked about that way too long. And I'm trying to get us to our Apple in 2025, the products that we're most excited about that are coming down the pipe. But before we do that, Lewis, we got to tell people how to get, this is an exclusive right here, how to get Apple TV Plus for free. You've probably heard this nowhere else. And if you want to go and binge watch Silo, which I've been trying to get to like the last 2 episodes for like the last 2 weeks, but I haven't been able to because I'm watching it with my wife, which I love. I love my wife. But she never has time, or we only have specific times that we can watch shows. And so I'm like, I could just watch this, but now I got to wait. And I haven't been able to get to it. But anyway, Apple TV Plus, Lewis. Let's hear it.
Yeah, this is a totally great trick. The trick is you turn on, you open the Apple TV app
Okay.
this weekend. Starting right now.
What's the code you have to enter?
0 codes. Just open the app.
The
any
code
device.
is 0 codes. Where do you put that?
Right. Just tap on the app.
Oh, okay.
And
then
you
what?
can watch.
So
And
you just
then
go
what?
in there and it just
It's
works?
free for everybody all around the world. Everything on Apple TV Plus, free January 3 to 5.
So there's no like special trick or anything that you have to do. You just open the app and it's just free.
I believe that is the case, sir.
We need to change the
And
headline of
what
the
is
story.
free?
I feel like we
Everything?
misled
Or,
people,
like
Lewis.
what, Silo or?
What do you mean you feel like we misled people?
We told them there was a special trick. It was the one hack
We
that you need
did?
to. Well, I mean, I mentioned it on your behalf. I mentioned it on your behalf. The
Yeah.
one trick you need to know to get Apple TV Plus for free.
Yeah, open the app.
Open the app.
It's pretty awesome, though. I mean, if you're one of those people who watched Apple TV Plus a long time ago when it was first starting out and there were like 8 shows on it or something and you haven't gone back, I mean, you can totally imagine that, right? Like you bought an iPad in whatever year this launched. What was it, 2019, I believe? You open this like over 5 years ago. You bought an Apple TV, you bought an iPad, you bought an iPhone, whatever you bought that gave you a free, what was it, a free 1 month trial or 3? I think they used to give three, maybe still 3 months.
They still are.
trial.
I'm on a 3-month trial right now.
Yeah, so if you did that back then and you haven't checked in a while, this is a great opportunity to do that. And you're going to be, frankly, probably going to be shocked at how many shows there are in there.
Yeah.
I mean, with here at Cult of Mac, we were updating our list of best Apple TV shows, and prompted all of us to go in and poke and look around in the library. It's like, good grief, there's so much stuff in there. And Leander's mentioning shows. I'm like, I haven't even heard of that show in like 3 years. We used to review every single one of these shows.
What show was that you haven't heard of?
Echo 3.
Oh, I haven't heard
I
of
mean,
either.
completely below the radar.
Yeah.
There was something else on this list that it was like some old poll from a couple of years ago. What's your favorite one on Apple TV Plus now? And like, what, Echo 3? What, are you kidding me? That one didn't really have any legs. Never really caught on. There was another one that was like completely. Oh, Shantaram. Remember that one?
No, I've never heard that word in my
life. Some people were
life.
super excited about Shantaram because I believe it's a based on a well-known novel or series of novels. I've never read them, of course, because who has time to read books? But I remember Graham, one of the writers who's written a bunch of stuff about Apple Watch for us. Yeah, he was super excited about this. He loved the source material, and it had Charlie Hunnam. Remember him from Sons of Anarchy? The guy.
I like how Lewis just keeps listing off all this stuff that he thinks we've all heard
Charlie
of.
Hunnam?
Like me and Griffin are just sitting here shaking our
Well,
heads. Like we have no idea what you're talking about.
He's actually a movie star.
Is he?
But he was,
Not a
played
very
the lead
famous
character.
one. Okay.
Well, mid tier.
Mid-tier? Oh, that's rude.
Let's see. Anyway, let's see here.
I'm
What do we
sorry. I
got?
feel like my
Severance.
stupid
Anything?
humor ruined the entire point of the story. And once again buried the lead. January 3rd through the 5th. So this
That's
weekend,
right
Apple
now.
TV Plus is free.
Right now, if you're listening, if you're not tardy listening, you can watch Apple TV.
My
And
apologies.
it's
Yep.
like I said, it's anything with the app. Like it's my understanding, if you have like a Samsung TV, a smart TV with a Apple TV app on it, you can turn it on and watch it right now.
Yeah, man. And this is a great weekend, too, because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of great content on there. But Silo just completed, I think. Didn't they?
I don't think so.
Isn't the final episode today?
I don't know
think
if it's
it is.
today or next week.
Oh, maybe next week.
But I
Okay.
know we're getting close. And the other thing is that you can go in and you can watch Severance, which is maybe a show you've maybe heard about,
Oh,
maybe
that's
not.
right.
We've talked about it. We love it. Severance is coming back later this month. That's another
Oh,
reason why Apple's doing this right now, right? I mean, aside
Right.
from the fact it's New Year and people are still kind of easing back into their regular routine.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing a very rare rewatch. I very rarely rewatch shows, but I've been rewatching Severance.
Oh,
I
really?
watched
too.
just like 3
Me
episodes
too.
yesterday to catch myself up.
Oh, man. I'm the
It's-
rewatch king. It's like all I do is rewatch stuff. I only ever watch things that I've already watched.
It's wild rewatching Severance. I'd forgotten,
Mm-hmm.
specifics about why I liked it so much. It's like, dang, man, it's just so weird and so creative. And
So creative.
I mean, I was just watching the episode 2 yesterday, and when the guy says something like, "Oh well, we got to get this over so we can get to the melon bar," and it's like,
Right.
what? I think that was the hook that just like right in the cheek. I'm hooked on this show forever. I mean,
I've just forgotten I've forgotten how funny it is. Like the episode I rewatched yesterday with Bert it's just, I remember this as being like one of my favorite lines from season 1, but like Bert and like Mark and I think the other guy are like sitting around right after like Kelly's doing something that's like, whatever, one of the dramatic things that she does. And then Bert just says, "What if we just leave inspirational quotes hidden like around the office for her to discover?" Like,
yeah, the whole the whole world that they create with that show is so bizarre. That all the characters are so interesting and weird, and it is. I think it's hilarious at times, but it's also really weird and dark. I mean, the whole concept. We always talk about Severance as how it's a great show. I mean, if people don't know what it's about, it's about this company where you can work for them, and they will surgically implant a little piece of metal inside your brain that cuts your work life away from your normal life. So basically, you go into the office, you're Lewis, the Audi, and then you go in a elevator down to the work floor, and suddenly you don't know anything about Lewis the Audi. Now you're Lewis the Innie. I mean,
and then you become like a brand new person who, from their perspective, only lives inside the office and knows nothing about anything about
Right.
the outside
Yeah,
world.
it's so creative.
right, and that there was a line in that, I think first or second episode, where it's like, well, what if I want to quit? What if I want to quit this job? Well, basically you'd be like, committing suicide because your innie would be dead. It would just disappear. It's just, it's a weird, like I think it's
a great
hard
concept, and they take the concept like completely through its execution. Like they explore every logical path of things that would happen and how this would affect the real world. Like they really, there's always these shows that have like interesting ideas, but they don't really explore them completely. This show like takes it to its logical conclusion. Like, they explore the ethics of the company that's doing this, like the ethics of like, well, what if your Audi doesn't want your innie to quit? And they just like keep you down there like forcibly, like.
Yeah, the set design is really striking. Everything about it is just, at least in that first season. I mean, I don't know. I was just like, wow, that was such a great first season of a show. I couldn't wait for the second. And now
Me either. It's been so
like
long
3
too.
years,
It's ridiculous. I
season
hate
2
when they
comes
wait
up
this long.
January 17th. I hope that it's not like the world's biggest disappointment, which I mean,
Me
I don't
too.
think it's gonna be, but that first season was so rich. It's tough to deliver that kind of amazing work.
I agree. Silo season 2 so far, I feel like has been great, and I'm worried it's turning into Lost almost, where it's like, hey, we're gonna raise a bunch of questions and mysteries in this season, and then the next season we're not gonna answer any of those questions. We're gonna just move on to new questions and mysteries, and like we're gonna do that the entire show, and then at the end we'll just be like, well, it was magic, and then the whole show ends. It's like I'm kind of worried that's gonna happen. I don't think it will. But so far, Silo has been really good, but I feel like it hasn't really gone anywhere. It's like, okay, they're just raising more questions and more mysteries, and it's really super interesting as to where we are now in the world of Silo, but like nothing, you don't really have answers to very much. They're just expanding the sphere of questions. It's like, I had questions here, and now my questions are out here. I still have these questions too, but the question sphere is expanding, and I hope at some point no show is ever going to be as satisfying as The Leftovers. I'll just say, I said this before, that show had one of the biggest payoff catharsis I've ever experienced. I was like, I cannot believe they wrapped this show up in such an amazingly cathartic way. I felt so deeply satisfied with how that show ended. We're going to go on a tangent, and I could see Griffin's making faces. Did you finish the show, Griffin?
I did.
Okay, we can't talk about it now, but we should probably talk about this in a CultCast off topic if we ever make another one again. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Yeah.
I think you should drop a link in the show notes to our roundup of best shows on Apple TV Plus. We've recently updated it. We've got, I don't know, it's more than a dozen shows that we've picked on there. And we did something new to this thing. We added like descriptions of what the shows are in the subheads, so you can just kind of scroll through it easily and say, best, sports comedy drama. Guess what that one is? But
yeah, there's one that I haven't seen.
I'll say again, it's shocking how many shows are on Apple TV Plus. I mean, the amount of stuff that they have pumped out, and it's in these weird silos of like nature documentaries, feature films. There's a lot of sports documentaries for whatever reason, I remember Scout, the guy who used to review a bunch of stuff for us, his theory was that they were really trying to just, suck up to the sports industry so that they could get exclusive streaming deals, right? Maybe true. Who knows? I couldn't be bothered to watch a sports documentary, I'll tell you that. But I did watch, they had a documentary on Michael J. Fox and one on Steve Martin, a two-parter on Steve Martin. Both of those were fascinating documentaries.
They also had a documentary on Carl Gosen, the infamous ex-CEO of Nissan and Renault.
Oh, right.
Dude, that documentary was gripping. I couldn't get away from it. Like every moment I had to watch that documentary. And I'll just give you like a quick bio. So this CEO was this very shrewd, kind of quirky business person who made his way up through the ranks of international corporations, ended up at Nissan, and he had also worked for Renault, which is a French car company. And I think when he worked at Renault, he had basically saved the company. And so Nissan enticed him to move over to Nissan to see if he could do the same thing for them. And during that time, even though he had promised he wouldn't, they believed, or he was trying to combine Renault with Nissan and make them into one company. And so Nissan hated him for that. And during the same time, Nissan accused him of all these corporate crimes, and which basically pulled him into like the Japanese legal system from whence he could not escape. And he was like stuck in Japan. They wouldn't let him go because of all this pending litigation. And the big question was like, did this guy do something wrong, or did the Japanese working at Nissan like entrap him with these accusations in order to get him to stop combining these two companies? And it's like, you don't know what happened. Like, is this guy a criminal, or did Nissan frame him to get him to go the way that they wanted him to go? And it's truly fascinating. Anyway, we got to move on, man. But I'm looking forward to the return of Severance and to wrapping up Silo. We should probably talk about those in a future episode. Let's see here. Before we do move on, just real quick, if I may entice you, speaking of enticing you, if you haven't already purchased CultCloth, I don't even know how many of you haven't. We have sold thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of these. But if you haven't, now is a great time. We're fully restocked, ready to roll. And your order will actually go out quickly, which doesn't always happen because we keep running out, or we have issues with plugins occasionally where orders just disappear. That's always fun. We eventually find the orders. It's just that they don't ship out right away. But CultCloth.co, you will not find any cleaning cloth that does a better job than CultCloth at keeping your gadgets sparkling clean, your glasses, your sunglasses, your lenses, your cameras. Every time I wipe down my Fujifilm cameras with all its little knobs at the top, I'm like, thank God for CultCloth. Because its dual fiber design reaches down into the cracks and crevices where all like your finger dust gets trapped, which you would never be able to get out. And just
I can attest to that. One of my dogs has like really thin, wiry hair.
Oh.
And sometimes his hairs get stuck like in the tiny little gasket, like between the screen and the aluminum of my phone. And, you know, when that used to happen, I'll just be like, all right, well, I guess I just have one of Scout's hairs just permanently embedded in there. But no, I got the dual. You got the dual fiber CultCloth, the super fuzzy one. You just rub it up and down along that edge, and boom, it's gone. It took it out.
It really actually works. It really works. Yeah. I mean, like I always say, it is the best cleaning cloth I've ever used, which is why I sell them. And if you'd like to get yourself some, head over to CultCloth.co, and use code CultCast at checkout. You'll get a free carry cloth with orders $20 plus. This is our new improved carry cloth, which is even better than our old ones, which were also amazing. But these ones work even better over time, which is what I love about them. They kind of develop like a cleaning fuzz that works similarly to the CultCloth Duo. It's not quite the same, but they're small and compact and easy to take with you and will keep your glasses sparkling clean. I know because I now have 3 children with glasses. Like, I don't wear glasses, but 3 of my kids do. Now, I think 2 of them will grow out of it, but it's like how come everyone here wears glasses but me? This is so weird. What's going on with your eyeballs? Yeah, I mean, that's what they say. They say, like, with certain eye issues, they can be treated, and eventually your kid's eyes will improve. I don't know if that's true, but...
Treated how?
Oh, lasers. Well, one of my daughters has to wear, like, a patch over her eye, like, for, like, 2 hours a day to, like, improve the strength of her other eye because she has a lazy eyeball.
It's like Dick Curlis.
Is it? Oh, yeah. Well, it's got real lazy. Permanently retired, you could say. All right. Let's see here. Tablets and iPhones cause premature eye issues. Well, that might be happening to me. All right, let's continue on, and let's talk about our favorite, most hotly anticipated Apple products of 2025. I've got some on my list that I can't wait for. In fact, I'm having a terrible time making my MacBook Pro purchase decision because of one of the products that is going to be on this list. But, Louis, I'm going to send it to you first. What are your most hotly anticipated Apple products of 2025?
Well, of course, an incredible new design on an iPhone is always exciting.
Yeah.
And, the idea that they come out with this super thin one or that they completely change the iPhone Pro for the first time in 4 years. I mean, the fact that they're talking about really shaking up the lineup, that to me is the most exciting thing about the upcoming years. Because it's been so long of same old.
Yep.
At the same time, when I hear people complain about that, I'm like, well, they are pretty amazing devices. I mean, I don't have a problem with my current iPhone 16 Pro, but
no one does. But it's time to mix it up a little bit, man. I mean, I feel like we always talk about Apple doing something innovative and new to make things more exciting, and it seems like this might be our year. With you're talking about the iPhone 17 Air, right?
Yeah, or the iPhone 17 Slim or whatever they end up calling it. Yeah, I think Air is probably a pretty good bet. And if they do come up with this, I mean, just to recap, I suppose it's supposed to be like a single camera phone, much slimmer design, like slimmest design by far for an iPhone, large screen, slightly dumbed down features, not dumbed down, but slightly like less good features, like a new Apple designed modem, I think, that's not quite as good as the current
Yeah.
modem.
They've been designing like the same. They've been entrenched in like the same pattern of features and designs like ever since the iPhone 12, like over the last 4 going on 5 years. Like the iPhone 17 Slim or Air, I think is exciting because it's like, well, what happens if we just try something different? Like let's just make a different goal. And then, well, these are the trade-offs and benefits if we design a phone with this goal in mind instead of what we've been doing. It's for all the people who complain that there are the people who complain every year that like, oh, they're just doing the same thing again and again and again, year after year after year. Why don't you do something new? Well, this is what happens if you make a phone that's new with a different goal in mind. It's exciting. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you, man. And although in the past I've maybe been too critical of product improvements that have been proposed, I'm not going to be right now. It's a whole new me, whole new year, whole new me. I'm excited to see what Apple does. What, Lewis? Why are you laughing at me?
I wonder how long it'll last.
Well,
Give it a
at
week.
least till next week. like people at the gym. At my gym, it's like the first week, it's like, oh, great. Here we go again, It's like, because the regulars, we all recognize each other. It's like, there's that woman who wears way too tight workout clothes. It's like, there's the guy who grunts way too loud when he's lifting the iron. It's like, okay, I know everyone here. The new face shows up. I'm like, what's this person doing here? They're on my machine. Don't they know? At 6:15, this is my machine. But they'll be gone. They'll be gone in a week or less.
Shakeout period.
Okay. What about you, Griffin?
Well, I mean, personally, I'm kind of satisfied with a lot of the products that I own. I have my N2 Pro Mac Mini still serving me well.
Oh, yeah.
Just got an iPhone last year.
Yeah.
I'll probably go a few years before upgrading that. Vision Pro, I cannot afford to buy a second one. So,
Right.
although I'm interested to see like what the revision that might be coming by the end of the year will be, I'll, probably buy it just to return it and try it out because I'm the Vision Pro expert at CultCast. I'm interested in those, but I'm not personally going to buy them. Like, I guess what's exciting for me is the simple concept that now that I have an Apple Card with a high enough credit limit that I can actually buy these things and test them out and send them back without putting, without like losing significant amounts of money personally. Like what I'm excited for in 2025 is the opportunity to like, buy the new MacBook Air when it comes out, review it, send it back. You like.
Right. I love how Griffin just admits
exciting.
this openly. I kind of
Right
wonder.
now, there's an alarm going off in the Apple Credit Center, like boo-doop, boo-doop. Lower his credit limit. Lower his credit limit.
I wonder if they're going to notice at a certain point.
I don't know. Like I explicitly told this to like the Apple Store people when I bought the Mac Mini and iMac a few weeks ago, and they didn't seem bothered by it.
I don't think they care.
I genuinely don't think they do. I mean, they're a $1 trillion company. We're just a small, plucky little operation here at CultCast. We're not going to affect their bottom line in any meaningful way by many orders of magnitude. Like Apple will be fine, people.
Oh, for sure.
They're going to be okay.
I'm sorry, I'm dying. I would love to know how many Vision Pros got returned.
Wow.
I hope I'm not losing my voice. We still got a lot of show left to do.
I guess personally among the products that I am interested in like actually buying would be the AirPods Pro 3.
Yeah.
Now I am a little concerned that, Apple releases these AirPods like on a pretty regular like 3-year cycle. So we're expecting AirPods Pro 3 this year, but it does kind of worry me that there aren't actually any rumors that say, oh, AirPods 3 are coming. Those like everybody's just sort of like decided that they're probably going to come this year, but like Mark Gurman hasn't said anything about them specifically.
Yeah, that's a bad sign.
We haven't, or like nothing from Ming Chi Kuo or anything like that. At least we haven't. If there is news, we haven't reported it on CultCast. So maybe it's just, I don't know. I hope so. I hope they're coming this year because I am interested in buying AirPods, and I'm not going to buy AirPods Pro now because, well, their time is up. But we'll see.
I think the most recent rumors say that they are coming next year, but it might be, later in the year. Who knows? I mean, it's always could slip too.
Well, for me, I got 2 things on my list. Actually 3, but I don't know if one of them is going to arrive in 2025. First off, that new Mac Studio is going to be an absolute monster. Like with the M4 Max in there. First of all, the M4 Max version is going to be such a screaming deal. I mean, to get an M4 Max for probably, well, it'll be $2,000 for the bin model and maybe $2,200 for the unbin model. That same machine in a MacBook Pro body is going to cost you $4,000. I mean, it's going to be such an unbelievable deal. And then the M4 Ultra is going to open up a hole in the space-time continuum and suck you out, and you'll probably never return. I mean, that thing's going to be so unbelievably powerful and such a great deal that it has had me agonizing whether or not I actually want one. I was like, should I get a MacBook Pro now, or should I just wait and get... Lewis is shaking his head. How dare you? I got to have the best, Lewis.
Pro. Look. The only reason to buy a desktop Mac is if you don't have the extra money to spend to get the equivalent laptop, or if you need the Ultra chip because the Ultra chip isn't available on a laptop. Irfan, you have the money like lined up, and you have the Apple discount. You should get a MacBook Pro.
Well, that's probably what I'm going to do. Now that leads me to another conversation entirely. But I'm not going into it now, though. I'm going to save it for a sec. And that is the agonization over which MacBook Pro to actually get, what specs to get. But the other thing that I'm really excited for is the Apple Watch Ultra 3. I really wanted an Ultra this last year, but I just could not justify spending money on the 2 when I already have the 1. So I'm really curious to see like what they do for the Ultra 3. Like what possible features could they add to it? Is it going to just be like another spec bump? How are they going to improve it? Because pretty much no matter what they do, I'm in all likelihood going to buy one. Just because I love my Apple Watch Ultra so much, and I'm looking forward to see what they do. But the mysterious, Apple Home device that they're working on, whether that be something that mounts to your wall or an iPad on a stick or whatever they end up doing, I'm super excited about because I have a lot of HomeKit devices.
Wow.
And I know I can't stop coughing. We may actually have to end early if I can't stop coughing. Take a little swig here.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Lewis. This is 100% pure moonshine, so it disinfects.
Grain alcohol. Yeah, great. That'll help.
Oh, my gosh. I'm trying not to cough so hard that it makes it worse. Sometimes you cough really hard and it actually makes it worse. And then the other thing is AirTag 2. I love my AirTags. I would love one with more range. And the other big thing that I hope that they add is a more powerful speaker. Because right now I don't feel like they're powerful enough. And especially if they make it so that they work from farther away, you're going to need a better speaker. And by far, that was one of my favorite things that Apple did in 2024 was add the Find My capability to the AirPods 3 case. I mean, that speaker is so dang loud. You could hear that thing from like 200 feet away across house levels. It is so loud. And I've used that so many times already. It's like, hey, where are my AirPods? How many times have you asked yourself that question? Like, that happens to me at least 3 times a week. And like being able to play a sound on my AirPods case makes it so much easier to find. So I'm hoping that they improve AirPods 2, or no, not AirPods, AirTags 2 with the better speaker. And then I think that might be it.
I'm pretty excited about that too because I love AirTags, and I almost bid on the 4-pack because you can never have enough of these things.
I know, but it's not worth it because
I knew that these were coming. I'm going to want to get some more. I want to get to the better ones. I've used some like third-party AirTag clones, and the fact that they don't have that, what was it called, precision finding. I mean, that is a really great feature of the AirTag, and especially if they make that so it has better range, you can find stuff easier and better distance. I mean, I'm gonna want to replace all the third-party ones that I have.
I know, right? And then you have to like go spend money on all the new AirTags. Can I just say before we move on, just real quick, I'm agonizing over my MacBook Pro model purchase. I was talking about waiting for the Mac Studio, which I don't think I'm going to do because I don't actually think I need a Mac Studio, although I would love to have one. And then I'm like, okay, I'll get the MacBook Pro. I'm like, well, wait a second. The M3 Max MacBook Pro is majorly discounted already on the refurbished store. And I can also get a discount on that. So, like, that would be a screaming deal. A machine that would once be $4,400, I could get for $3,000, right? It's that big of a discount. But the M4 Max is so much faster than the M3 Max. I just can't get myself to do it. Griffin is nodding enthusiastically over there.
Yeah, the reason it's cheaper is because it's not as good of a
It's
computer
not nearly
as
as good.
the current ones.
Yeah, the M4 Max really is a huge leap in performance. Plus, you get the better screen, you get Thunderbolt 5. I mean, there's a lot of big updates. And so then I'm like, okay. I thought for sure I was going to get the 16-inch MacBook Pro. But now I'm not so sure. I've been watching a ton of videos on YouTube about the performance of the MacBook Pro M3 Max. And though the sentiment exists out there, and I've talked about it on this show many times because of previous Max Tech videos that I've seen where the M3 Max performed better in a 16-inch MacBook Pro than it did in a 14-inch. But now I've seen videos where it's like they're virtually identical. And it turns out that some people don't know how to test their laptops. Like there's the high power mode, which I'm sure many of you know about. And the high power mode exists, from my understanding, to enable better battery life and like quieter performance. Or I should say, the mode allows you to select like better battery performance or high power mode or auto, and the MacBook Pro just handles it on its own. So if you don't set it to high power mode, I think that the laptop will automatically default to worse performance in order to prolong the battery life and not be loud. Well, a 16-inch MacBook Pro has a better cooling system, so it can cool efficiently without being loud. The 14-inch MacBook Pro, I think in order to get the best performance out of it, you actually do have to turn on high power mode, which means it's going to be louder and the battery life is going to be worse. Well, I don't know how many of the people testing these MacBooks knew that. And so the throttling that we saw could have been that people didn't turn on the right settings on the 14-inch MacBook Pro, and so it started to throttle. Now, I saw some other benchmarks where people knew that and that they turned on high power mode, and they tested both machines, and the 14-inch MacBook Pro was louder, but the performance was the same. And I'm like, shoot, if you can get the same performance out of a 14-inch MacBook Pro with an M4 Max by turning on high power mode, and it's a little bit louder, and the battery life isn't as good, like, I don't necessarily care about that, because the 14-inch is almost 1.5 pounds lighter than the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I mean, that computer is huge and heavy, and I would love to have something more portable. So I've been agonizing over that decision. And the other decision is, this is going to make Griffin pass out in his chair. I have been thinking about either going with the 2 terabyte or the 4 terabyte SSD. The 4 terabyte SSD is Tim Cook slapping you in the face and reaching his hand into your wallet and pulling out all the dollars that you have. It is astronomically overpriced. Insane. And yet, if you get a discount on it, 25% off, it's like, okay, it's still insane, but now it seems within the realm of possibility, and you could literally edit anything that you need to edit on that machine and never have to like be moving stuff off to a portable SSD, which I hate. Who wants to be dongled again? Or constantly be moving stuff off to like a NAS or something. Like, it would allow you to actually edit mobily and have multiple projects ongoing on the same laptop. It's immensely useful, which is why Apple marks them up that high. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with a 64 gigabyte, 14-inch MacBook Pro, or 64 gigabytes of RAM, I should say.
I will say this.
Yeah.
I have 2 opinions.
Okay.
With regards to screen
Let me hear
size,
both.
I mean, personally, I have always been a 15-inch laptop person, reformed now into a desktop Mac truther. So, like, personally, I just can't imagine ever considering 14 inches to be enough. I would go for the big one, but that's just me. With regards to storage and, just general philosophy of which one you should pick, I feel like you should be transparent with yourself and understand that this is just a holdover laptop until the M6 version comes out with an OLED screen, which you're going to buy.
Probably.
So I would be hesitant,
I believe,
to spend all the money on the upgrades, because if you want to resell the M4 later, I mean, the depreciation on the higher storage tiers, it just drops like a rock. It's like buying a luxury car, because like the 4 terabyte model is like, the the leather seats are like the heated steering wheel of Apple options. It costs it's enormously expensive, and it's not going to retain any of that value.
You don't think so, huh? Like, I
No,
would think
I
that
think
it would help.
if 2 terabytes is like, I have 2 terabytes of internal storage on my Mac Mini, and unlike you, I actually make YouTube videos every single week, and I can fit like a year of projects on that hard drive.
But see, the thing that you don't have that I have, at least I'm presuming, maybe I'm wrong, is an absolutely massive photos library that gets stored on your Mac, which takes up half the space.
I have a 500 gigabyte storage library that I keep on my Mac. I think.
See, so mine
yours is probably bigger.
Mine's huge, and like that's a big problem. Like, I wish Apple gave me a way to designate how big I want my photos library to be, and then just offload everything else to the cloud. Because right now on my Mac, I think it takes up like 900 gigabytes of space, which is insane. Like, why do I have that many photos living on my machine? Like, it should just be in the cloud, and that's it. So that's my problem. Is like with a 2 terabyte. That probably would be enough if I didn't put my photos on my Mac, but I do. And it would also be nice to be able to download the entire photo library and then back it up to my NAS on my Mac, which is another one of the reasons why I want to have like 4 terabytes. But it is insane. I mean, the cost is like outrageous. So I probably will go 2 terabyte. But to your earlier point about me upgrading, so it'll probably be like the M7 OLED MacBook Pro. I don't think
M6, I think.
M6. I don't think I'll have a discount available to me for that upgrade cycle because all the genii that I know are all waiting for that machine. And so they're all going to be upgrading when that comes out. And that's going to be the super cycle of upgrades. I think there's a lot of people who are on M1 Max who are going to be waiting for that machine. And their M1 Max still serves them perfectly. And it's like, oh, and they're not going to move at the M5. The M5 is going to be a spec bump. And
you know that you fall into that camp too. You also have an M1 Max, and you could wait perfectly fine.
No way, because this is the year I return to YouTube, Griffin. This is the year.
Oh, and an M1, you can't possibly do that with an M1 Max.
No way, it's
the
garbage.
highest tier of a.
It's practically unusable for the single camera.
I produce videos every single week, and I have an M2 Pro, which is probably, performs a little worse than the M1 Max, and I don't know how I scrape by doing it.
I don't either. Are you doing 8K or something? I'm not even sure how you're making that work. So
8-bit.
What's that?
8-bit.
8-bit. Well, if you're only doing 8-bit, then maybe the M1 Max would be appropriate. But I go 10-bit. I'm always 10-bit. So I don't know. I got big plans. This is the year. This is the year I return. And also I just have the money burning a hole in my pocket. So I don't know, man. I mean, no matter what I get, is it going to be sufficient for my YouTube aspirations? Yeah, for sure. I mean, to your point, could I make the M1 Max work? Probably. Would I be happy about that? No. It's very irksome to me.
You could make an M1 iMac work. I'm serious. You could.
You probably could edit 4K on an M1 iMac and not have any issues. And it's not like my timeline is like, 55 layers deep, So, and actually, ironically enough, from all the benchmarking I've seen, out of all the things you could be doing with a Mac that would stress the actual SoC, video editing is one of like the least stressful things that you could be doing because everything is offloaded to those codec encoders. The two that come on the M4 Max do all the heavy lifting, and also true for like the M3 and the M2. So it's like you really actually don't see huge gains in Final Cut Pro by upgrading to the M4 Max. So really, it's going to be not really huge gains for me anyway.
The M4 generation has the AV1 hardware decoder, which I think you would want to use AV1, right? Because that's what YouTube does.
Yes, that is accurate. So, do I need a MacBook Pro? No, I don't. I could definitely make do with what I got, but my MacBook Pro is worth like $1,700 or $1,800. So, like, if I get 25% discount now, and I can sell my machine for $1,800, then I'm spending like $2,000 for like the most cutting edge Mac that exists. So it's really not a bad deal. And to your point, I mean, I would probably try to upgrade when the OLED one comes out, but I'll have to wait for there to be a refurbished model because Mac or Apple employees always get a discount on the refurbished stuff. They don't have a limit, I don't think, or the limit's very high. It might be like 10 discounts a year or something. So, and actually, refurbished with an Apple discount is the absolute best way to get a discount because the refurbished store generally discounts Macs 15%, and then you get another 50% discount on top of that with the Apple store or the Apple employee discount. So you're getting a 30% discount off the original price. That's pretty good. So, I might have to wait to do that. But
Yeah. With all this waffling, you could open up a breakfast bar.
you think so? Although I don't know if I have enough waffles. It's only like 2, and I think you're gonna need like hundreds. But people are doing the math. Don't do the math on the machine I want. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's gonna make your eyes bulge out of your head. So I'll let you know. I'm planning on going to the Apple Store today, actually, probably after we record this, and looking and making my decision. So I'll let you all know.
Gonna kick the tires.
I want to pick up the 15-inch or the 15-inch. I want to pick up the 14-inch and just hold it in my hands and see how I feel. But I figure, you know what? I'll try it for a couple years and see how it goes. I think I'm going to love
bring a
having
magnifying glass so you can actually see that tiny screen.
Yeah,
Be careful when you pick up the 16-inch.
I know,
Going
man.
to strain your back.
I know, kidding. Strain your bicep. I am definitely getting the iPad Pro, the 11-inch. I decided on that one. This is the base 11-inch iPad Pro. I almost went 13, but everyone talked me out of it. Although I am going to look at it while I'm there today. Get some more waffles from my bar. Okay. That was a long tangent that should have been short. I should have known better. Do you want to talk about the Magic Mouse real quick there, Griffin, before we
Yes,
wrap
I
up?
do. So the Magic Mouse is maybe one of the most confusing Apple products that was released last year. They literally just swapped out the Lightning port for USB-C, and that was it. No touch, no new features at all. But Mac Rumors, I'm sorry, has this article today, or a few days ago, redesigned Magic Mouse with touch and voice controls, reportedly coming in 2026. Expanding on a recent report from Bloomberg's Shark Sherman, the Korean Apple News aggregator known as Ukes 1122, something like that.
Sounds reliable.
Says Apple's next generation Magic Mouse will feature a new, more ergonomic design. Nice. That addresses long-standing complaints, including the location of the charging port, which I think is fine. It's kind of a non-issue to me, but I think the worst part about the location of the charging port is that it's like bait for PC guys to dunk on about Apple. You know, if we just take that away from them, that would be an improvement in my book. Anyways, the overall look of the Magic Mouse has not changed much since 2009, so a redesign seems to be long overdue. Its only changes include switching from AA batteries to the built-in battery that's rechargeable, and switching the port from Lightning to USB-C. It still doesn't support the same gestures as the Magic Trackpad, nor support Force Touch or haptic feedback, so it feels like an outdated product. It's definitely not worth like the $100 that they charge you for it. Apple has apparently designed a prototype of the new mouse that incorporates a mixture of touch, voice controls, and hand gestures, making it more suitable for today's computing demands. I don't know what about today's computing demands require voice controls, but mouse 1 inch to the left, please. Like, hey Siri, move the mouse to the upper left corner. No, not that far. Like that, it's weird. It reportedly plans to release the new Magic Mouse alongside the OLED M6 MacBook Pro in 2026. So Mark Gurman keeps assuring us that voice commands are coming to the mouse.
That
for whatever
is so
reason.
bizarre. What I just can't believe that. It's completely pointless.
Yeah. In the most recent tweet, he says, voice control in the new Magic Mouse I wrote about this month makes sense in the light of AI. How? I'm not following. I'm not following you, Mark.
I don't either.
And the fact that Apple is on a decade-plus cycle, from what I've heard, the big focus is on ergonomics. Yeah. I'd expect a new keyboard, too. The keyboard, I think, is fine.
Does the Mac Mini or Mac Studio have mics built in? Maybe they don't.
I believe they do, yeah.
They do. Okay, so you could do a FaceTime call and not have to have a microphone in the monitor or...
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I'll have to look into that. Because if not,
double-check
then maybe that's why this would be useful. But other than that, because I'm like, doesn't every Mac that you use already have a microphone built in? Like, why would you need this?
I'm checking Mac Tracker right now.
While you're doing that, one quick thing I wanted to mention. I think Apple's about to release a new Thunderbolt display or Studio display. A lot of people asked why the Studio display didn't have ProMotion, and I think it's because of its 5K resolution. If you match that with 120 hertz, it would be more bandwidth than Thunderbolt 4 could handle. I think now that we have Thunderbolt 5 in place, I bet you Apple's going to release a new studio display. I don't know if it will come in 2025.
I'm checking system settings, sound input, and I'm seeing my microphone. I'm seeing the iPhone microphone, but I'm not seeing a built-in microphone. So maybe it doesn't have a built-in one.
So maybe that's why, to give you a microphone somewhere. Although I still think that would be...
It would be covered up by your hand, and it would be far away on your desk, so it wouldn't be very good.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you got to move your hand. Oh,
Stop touching your mouse with your hand. Are you insane?
I can't hear a word you're saying. You keep touching your mouse. All right.
Are you talking about the studio display?
That's what I just talked about, yeah.
And but you were talking about, is there a microphone built in?
No. Sorry. I was talking about, we were talking about that earlier. There is one built into the studio display.
Oh.
I was talking about how I think Apple is going to release a new studio display in 2025 with ProMotion support.
Got it. Okay. I was
Because
just confused for a moment there.
yeah. Because I think the reason they didn't do it is because they couldn't pair ProMotion with 5K. It overwhelms the bandwidth of Thunderbolt 4. So now that they're on Thunderbolt 5, they'll have the bandwidth to do that. So all I'm trying to say is it might be time to sell your studio display and wait. I'm probably not going to do that, especially because I'll have a 14-inch MacBook Pro. But
The studio display also isn't mini LED. Like it's behind
I know.
a few generations of technology. It's the same panel they've
dear.
had since the iMac 5K, like 10 years
You're
ago.
going to make me go on a tangent. Are you trying to bait me? It's essentially just the iMac display from the Intel iMac wrapped in a new container, but costing almost the same price. It's completely insane. It is a nice monitor, but insane. We've covered this ad nauseum. But yeah, my goodness, how overpriced. All right, we're so long. It's a good thing that I'm off today. That's all I gotta say, because we're like an hour and 45 minutes.
You mean off work, right?
Yeah.
Not just off.
Yes. Well, both actually. If you haven't noticed. I think that's all the Apple stories that we have. Should we wrap up with our final 2024 picks? I have a whole list of stuff.
Really?
Here. Picks and anti-picks, actually. I don't know if we'll have time for all of it. But does anyone want to start, or should I just dive right in?
I'll go on. I have a number of picks as well, but
All right, let's do it.
Looking through the list, I'll just go for one here since we are going a little long.
That's
You know
fine.
what? One of the best things I watched in 2024.
Yeah.
Bringing it back around, The Leftovers. You're right. It was a fantastic show.
No way. You did like
really
it.
great ending. Yeah.
You liked the ending, too.
Oh, it was fantastic. Now, I'm a little easy to impress with endings. Like, I guess I'm one of the rare people who genuinely liked the ending to Lost, and I also genuinely liked the ending to Game of Thrones.
Uh-huh.
I think they're very thematically resonant with the message of the show if you really pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of understood, like, I don't really need all of the questions answered on Lost. I wasn't one of those people, but like, man, The Leftovers, if you are that kind of stickler and like you like a good last episode is super important to you, it's fantastic. And it's not just about the last episode. Like I really feel like The Leftovers picks up like sort of in the middle of season 1. Like once I got there, I was like, oh man, this is a great show. Like
How many
it's
seasons
also
are
weird
there?
how there are 3 seasons,
Yeah.
only 28 episodes. So it's like super bingeable. It's super easy to watch. It's not like, oh, it's 7 seasons long and it only gets good around like season 3, like, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Like The Leftovers.
How dare you.
You get like
I
a few
heard you
episodes in
slide
to
that
like,
in.
really understand the premise, but like then it's fantastic. It is also weird how all 3 of the seasons feel like completely different shows.
Yeah.
Like you watch the first episode of season 2 and it's like, whoa, what is happening here? Like,
And yet they all have that same through line, of
yeah.
what is happening in our world. Where do all these people go?
And then like you get to the end of season 2 and the entire show completely changes again. International Assassin, that episode,
Oh, man.
I mean, the world is turned over. It's great.
It's
good
like
show.
when Star Trek: The Next Generation added the holodeck, and all of a sudden they're going on like these like pirate missions, from like the 1600s or something. You're like, what is this? Is this still Star Trek? Oh man, this show was just it's such a great demonstration of good writing and how many shows lack like cohesive, creative writing. And again, I think its ending is one of the best in any series history that I've ever seen. I don't want to give away too much, but
it's what Damon Lindelof is capable of when he isn't forced to make like 24 episodes every single year, and he can actually like plan things out in advance.
that's interesting. Isn't David Lindelof? Isn't he also? He was a writer for Lost, wasn't he?
He was, yeah.
I actually didn't know that. So he wrote this show too, or he co-wrote the show?
I mean, I think he was the showrunner on both Lost and The Leftovers.
I don't think I realized that, but I feel like we maybe talked about that in a previous episode. Dude, first of all, I'm so happy to hear that you enjoyed it, but also it's affirmation that like it's not just me. Like this show really did have one of the best endings of any show, and I got towards the last episodes of season 3. I'm trying not to give away too much. And I was thinking to myself, here we go. There's no way they're going to be able to wrap this show up. Like we're so close to the end. Like how are they possibly going to do this? And they brought it to conclusion in a simple but effective way that, you know, when the show is over and you just sit there with the credits rolling, not saying anything and just sitting there in absolute wonder at what you just experienced. Like that was me at the end of The Leftovers, and such a great premise for a show too. And they answer the big question. It's like, what happened here? They actually answer it in a very satisfying way. I rewatch this show probably once a year. I absolutely love it. Did you ever watch it, Lewis? We've talked about it so many times.
No, I've never watched it.
Oh man, great cast too. Absolutely terrific cast. All right, well, I'll have a maybe more controversial pick here that some will love and some will hate. But I would say for the first time in maybe 4 years, I'm actually enjoying Call of Duty again. I've been playing Call of Duty Black Ops 6 on my Xbox Series X. And, dude, you know, I can't even spell it. That game really got zany. Black Ops, just in general, really just, I think, got to be too much. And I remember playing it and thinking to myself, this game is way too complicated. There's way too many gimmicks and fighting mechanisms that don't make sense. And this new Call of Duty Black Ops, I feel like is a return to greatness. It is one of the most fun Black Ops games that I've ever played. It's simple. It's fun. It's got a fun sliding and diving mechanism, but it's not going overboard where you have like jetpacks and all these crazy power-ups. It's got fun weapons. It's got fun levels. The multiplayer is just so much fun. It still has some of the same problems as other Black Ops games that I absolutely hated, which I won't go on too much of a tangent on. Namely, the friggin' lag comp, man. And if you don't know what lag comp is, it is where the game is trying to reconcile your different connection speeds or your connection speed with someone else. And it can show up in two different ways. Like, let's say my connection speed is fast and yours is slow. Well, on your screen, I may show up before you show up on my screen. And so our combat is not fair because you can shoot at me before I ever even see you, and then when you do finally show up on my screen, it's like, boom, I'm dead. And I don't even have a chance to shoot my gun at you because I've been on your screen for like a full second. Extremely annoying. It can also show up the other way where you're shooting at me and I'm shooting at you, and I go to hide, and I hide behind a building, but on your screen, I'm still there. So you're firing at me, and even though I'm hiding on my screen and I can't see you anymore, you're still able to see me. And now, boom, I'm dead, even though I should be protected. So that kind of stuff happens all the time. It's extremely annoying. And I don't know if there's ever a way to solve that problem because everyone has different connection speeds. I also don't love how they pair you in a game. There's like a new movement, maybe not new, but this movement to like unify all the online gaming experiences between different devices. So people on a PlayStation, people on a PC, people on an Xbox, all playing the same multiplayer game together. I don't know that I love that because there is an inherent advantage to playing on a PC. There's a reason they call it PC Master Race. Like when you have a keyboard and a mouse, like you can react to things so much more accurately and faster than on a controller. I feel like that's kind of unfair. You may be able to trim that off in the settings. I haven't found it yet. But all that to say, dude, I've been playing so much Call of Duty. I've been having a great time. It reminds me of the old days, like Black Ops 2, when the game was just at its apex, just as good as it ever had been. and it's right back up there. I would say for the most part, the kill streaks aren't nearly as good, but so far I've been loving it. Caveman's asking me about Indy. That's really high on my list. The new Indiana Jones game. I am a huge Indiana Jones franchise fan. Like, I love Indiana Jones. Does it have problems? Yes, I could do a whole episode on that. But I love the lore of Indiana Jones, and I've heard that game is good. It was made by Bethesda. I think Bethesda is one of the best gaming studios ever. So I've been trying to play it. Caveman says it's good. Okay. That's good to hear, man. I'm excited for it. I have been trying to go into it. I'm also playing Diablo 4 at the moment, which is also extremely time-consuming. So I don't know when I'll be able to make it into it yet, but I do have it. I just haven't played it yet. That's my first pick. Who's going next?
Can you speak a little bit as to, like, what your setup is, or like when you play or stuff like that? Like, are you playing on the TV behind you, or?
No, so the TV behind me, no, I don't. I typically play on my Xbox Series X in my living room. I do have a really great gaming PC, but I just like kicking back and sitting on my couch. And so I typically do that the most. And I grew up playing Xbox and using a controller. And it's probably one of my favorite controllers. I think it's better than every other system, especially when they had the big Duke controller that was like as big as your head and was so comfortable in your hands and the buttons all over it. Man, I loved that thing.
What did you say it's called?
The Duke.
The Duke?
Yeah. It was named after the guy who designed it. It was named after his kid, I think. I know that. I believe I know that because I met his kid randomly at Costco. Did I tell this story?
What?
I started talking to some dude at Costco. And we got to talking about
Duke.
We started talking about something, and he may have told me his name was Duke, and I may have mentioned the Xbox controller because you never meet anyone named Duke. And he told me that was his dad, and his dad had helped design the original, and he knew all sorts of stuff about it. So it wasn't just like BS. Anyway, so random story.
That's unexpected.
Yeah, Lewis, you got to go. I got to hop out of here just really quick to grab something real fast, but you keep going. And actually, I'll load up your screen for whatever you're picking. What is it?
All right. Well, I already raved about this product once, and you know what? I've used it a lot this year. It's still good. Oh, there it is. The old. You can't see it, of course. It's as dark as can be in my office.
What is that?
It's the X Air Duffel by Waterfield Designs. The most amazing, carry-on travel bag you're ever gonna find.
I'll put oh my, that is a nice bag. Holy cow!
Don't you remember seeing this?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm loading up the image though, real fast. Let's see here.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that Griffin is literally updating the show notes as we do this here.
It's like everything that Waterfield makes.
All right, BRB, you keep going.
High quality. The zippers are amazingly great. It's waterproof. It's made from this material called X-Pack, which is super light and super, very kind of rugged and water resistant. It's got leather accents on there. I like the way it looks. If there's one downside, it's kind of manly. Like my wife is like, oh, I wish that I could get one of those, but she looks at the colors. She's like, I don't really like any of the colors.
Gray or gunmetal gray or black or light gray.
Green, black. Yeah, they're all like iPhone Pro colors. They're just. But I like the green with the black. The interior of these things are they use this interior and all of it is gold, which is weird first time you use it. But then you're like, oh, when you look inside there in a dark place, you can actually see what's going on. It's like one of those smart things that they do. Everything that they do is great. The connections, the little clips that hold the thing shut. The zippers are quality. I mean, I don't know. I've spent so much money on garbage luggage over the years, And the last trick we took, I checked something, get it back. The stupid AirTag thing had popped off of it, ripped off. They ripped off part of the zipper. It's like, it's nice to have quality luggage. And I can tell that, I've used this a lot this year. I can tell that it's going to last for a good long time. Every time I take it out of the house and go on a trip, the people are like, wow, what is that? They're looking at it, they're like, you wouldn't think so much about it. It's just a piece of luggage, but It's very practical. You can put a lot of stuff in there. Like almost, I think everything they make is also really heavily designed for Apple and tech users. This has a special side of it. It's made for holding. It can hold a laptop. It can hold a tablet. It has little areas for all their all your cables and things like that. It's really, I mean, it's, as I said before, super expensive. $459.
Looks nice though.
But it is very nice. And
So is it your go-to travel bag? Is that
I
what you
take it. I
typically use
take it
for?
every trip I go, and it's got to pop it on top of the pop it on top of the regular luggage, and just there you go. And
Dang, dude, I love it.
Comes with a nice like it's just everything about it is just high quality. Like the strap is really comfy, really cushioned, kind of stretchy. It's not just like a piece of nylon webbing with a little thing on the center of it. It's kind of like, wow, this is what rich people use. I mean, it gets, everything about it feels so luxurious and well put together and well thought out. It's really kind of shocking.
It reminds me of Filson. I don't know if anyone said that yet. If anyone's not familiar with Filson, oh my gosh, it's like a really rugged clothing and bag brand that originated in the Pacific Northwest. It looks kind of like, it's like Pacific Northwesty mixed with like cowboy, in my opinion. It's like natural materials, waxed canvas, leather.
Oh
It's
yeah,
got
these
like a
guys
Western flair, but like their stuff is, I mean, high quality, outrageously expensive. Like a bag is like $800. A jacket's like $1,200, but it's like got a lifetime guarantee. They won't even sell it to you if you don't have a 5 o'clock shadow when you come in. This bag kind of reminds me of that with its use of like canvas and leather and stuff. Materials that like last a lifetime.
Right. They make all their stuff in well, not all, but a lot of their stuff they make it in a variety of materials. Wax canvas is real big with them.
Mm-hmm.
With Waterfield. I like Waterfield also. I mean, they're hometown heroes. They make their stuff by hand in San Francisco. You're not going to see it on sale very often. I mean, like I actually contacted them over Black Friday. I was like, hey, you guys got any big sales coming up? I'd like to promote. Because we're always always trying to show people our favorite stuff on sale, right? And I was like, well, they I think they had a deal where like if you spent over $500, you got a free like little gear bag to go inside, which by the way, I have a couple of those too, and those are really awesome. They make these little zip up things. Again, super heavy duty zippers. You never like zipping it and it's like fighting you. It's like everything's smooth like butter, and they've got all these little components. I don't remember the name of these products. It's like tech sleeve or gear sleeve or something like that. But those things are great. I toss one or two of those in this bag when I go. So then you pull out you got your writing utensil or whatever in there. Maybe you stick in an Apple Pencil. All a bunch of cables, keep them orderly. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about Waterfield Designs. I mean, they. I believe I mentioned before they gave this to me as a review unit. So I mean, I have to disclose that.
Sure.
But their stuff is super high quality.
Man, I love their duffel bag too. I actually need a new duffel bag. My old one is breaking, and so I've been looking for another one that I can love for another 10 years. And it was made out of leather too, and the zipper is breaking off of it. So I'm like, okay, I guess I could get it repaired, but I kind of want to get something that is not as dark because it's like a really dark brown leather. But this is interesting, man. I might purchase one of these actually. These are good-looking bags.
Good stuff, man. I mean, they make some things like sort of fanny packs, which I know you're a fan of, which I can't get behind.
I love them.
But what do they call them? They call them gear cases.
Utility
I think they
belts.
call them. They're what?
Utility belt. That's a much nicer word for it.
They're gear pouch. That kind of thing. Those things. They're just
Hip bag.
awesome.
Hip bag, Lewis. Hip bag.
It says a tip right in the name.
I know. There you go. That's all the proof you need. Oh, man, I got so much stuff on my list. Yeah.
I have one more pick I could do that's kind of a quick one.
I've got like 20. I'm going to have to do a best of, just rattle off.
Okay, well, I guess if we're going for it, I have... my last pick is actually one of the personal projects of mine.
Okay.
that I'm not actually completely done with, but I do want to talk about it a little bit. So with my personal website, dgriffinjones.com, I've generally struggled in my head because as an old computer collector, I want my website to be navigable and browsable by old computers. Like, for funsies, if I'm testing out like, a laptop from 20 years ago, I want to be able to go to my own website on it. But keeping a website accessible to old computers is a struggle because modern web technologies don't want you to don't want that. Like you're constantly at odds between making something obscenely ugly, or optimizing for modern smart devices. So I recently had the idea to just create a fork in my website. So you can go to dgriffinjones.com and see it as it normally is, the nice blue and gray color scheme, nice modern web font. I use some of the Cooper family of, it's like a nice friendly looking sans serif.
It is friendly.
If you have an old computer, you can now go to old.dgriffinjones.com and you'll see a version of my website that is approximated entirely without any CSS whatsoever.
Well, look at that.
This is a website that is targeted for web browsers circa 1996. So Netscape Navigator 2 and Internet Explorer 2. I've actually been testing it on like an old like MS-DOS computer, like running Windows 3.1 with Internet Explorer 2 on it, and I'm testing it out. I still have a few more bugs to work out, but like all of the layout is done with like HTML table elements.
Oh,
like,
tables!
Yeah.
Wow, man.
That was the good old days.
Like, no custom fonts because it's whatever the user has chosen for the font of their browser, that is what will show up. No styling whatsoever. HTML tables, HTML elements, just headers and paragraph elements, and that's it. And so I try to make sure that any new post that I write, I post to both versions of the site. When I've finished writing them and making all my edits. I was hoping that I would have a system where I could just be able to write a post once and automatically update both sites, but that doesn't seem to be working. Maybe I'll work out a workflow for that in the future. I haven't officially launched it yet because I still need to go through my old posts. Like a few of them aren't loading on the old version of the site. I need to go through and remove all of those pesky Unicode characters. Can't have any of those.
Wait a minute. You say you haven't officially launched it. What are you gonna hire somebody with a bucket full of doves to release or something? How do you officially launch it? It's live on the web.
Yeah, he's just got to make it
his announcement post yet. I'm only pre-announcing it here. It's a beta version. I haven't fully made it web compliant with Netscape Navigator yet.
That's a hot one.
Confetti cannon.
Yeah,
confetti cannon for that.
Netscape Navigator was the biggest web browser in 1996, and I need.
God, isn't that weird to think about? Netscape Navigator.
No, I haven't heard that word or thought of that word in 20 years. Hey, man, this looks clean. You know what it needs, though, is ads, around the side, the left, and the right, and maybe between the text and the top and the bottom,
We had ads back then.
I know. They were all over the place, like GeoCities.
It would have been on the side.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
What would they call it? They used to call them skyscrapers.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they still do. I don't know. Banner ads. Remember that? Oh, my God. It's always funny when I go to a website that doesn't have any ads. It's
it's very disorienting.
It doesn't have to be so disruptive.
It would be fun if I got period correct ads from 1999 and add them in there, add a pop up.
God.
All right, should I rattle off my list? Do you guys have more stuff? Louis, do you have anything more?
The thing that I would say that has been awesome in 2024, I've really taken to using Midjourney and Grok AI image generation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm finding it
That's
to be
a great one, man. It's the year of generative AI images.
It's been really fascinating. I'm a guy who cannot draw anything. I bet you the what is the Apple thing called Magic Wand or something that you scribble something in a note and it turns into a drawing. Well, okay, I bet it can't even work with my amazing drawing techniques, which is I can't do anything. But you can go on these things and put in a simple command and have 4 different really amazing looking images to choose from, and especially with cartoon style stuff, pop art style stuff. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm astonished at how quickly and amazingly it can generate stuff. Leander and I have been talking about, should we use AI images? I've been using them with the social stuff, just playing around with it, having fun with it, and seeing what's possible and what's easy. And a lot of these things, I mean, it takes so little time. And I look at this, I said, Leander, look at this. If we, back when we worked at Wired, you would have somebody, you'd talk with them, you'd have a meeting that would take at least 15 minutes and maybe an hour to discuss some graphics. And then they would produce something, and then maybe you'd like it, maybe you wouldn't. You'd have to like go back and forth. And eventually you'd come up with something that looked really amazing. Well, I mean, you could get the same results in literally like 10 seconds.
I know, it's incredible.
With Midjourney. And I mean, some of the stuff that I've done, just with like cartoon art style. I swear to God, it's like literally you could not tell if it was spit out by AI in 10 seconds or labored over by a legitimate artist.
That's what makes the artist so mad.
I'm sure it's got to be terrifying. Yeah. I mean, thank God that the words that it spits out are, kind of samey and completely untrustworthy. I mean, at least if you're talking about cartoon artwork, wow. I mean, I don't see how it's controversy. I mean, like Leander's like, well, I think people are, don't like the AI art style. Well, there is no AI art style. There is no specific look. I mean, you look at podcasts. I mean, some podcast people there, every episode has different art, and everyone is like amazingly different. And I mean, especially if you go like, some podcast that's talking about like cryptids or something, right? I mean, so they've got, the crazy demon of Southern Ohio, right? And they have some AI generated art, and it has this very distinct style. And I just think about like how much time and effort that would have taken before, and how many people would have had to been employed, and how much money it would have cost. I mean, like when we were working at Wired, if you had to get like an image generated, I mean, how much would that? It would probably cost you $1,000. That little picture.
Oh yeah.
And I feel sorry for the artists who are going to be out of work, but I mean, it's super simple, and the results are fantastic using this AI stuff. So
we'll disagree on the results being fantastic. I think they look heinously ugly, and I think I'm not happy with them at all. But
well, I mean, you can't say let's put it this way: the results can be amazing. I mean, which ones don't you like? I mean, what type of thing do you find unpleasant?
I don't want to dwell on this too much, but you say you can't tell the difference. I feel like it's incredibly obvious which ones are AI generated. They do have a look to them. They have a very particular like style. They all look super like smoothed over. I don't know. I find them distasteful.
I mean, are you talking about the ones that are like Pixar type of generated art, or what?
A lot of the generated images that I've seen, I think they look kind of ugly.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the
yeah. It's fast and it's easy to use,
Apple
but
Image
the results
Playground
aren't great in my opinion.
What do you mean? It doesn't get better than Image Playground. That's the pinnacle of generative AI.
I've seen some stuff that I'm just like absolutely amazed at how good it looks. I mean, I don't know if you could show this in the thing, but
probably the technology exists.
Maybe it does. I don't know. I like if you sat me in a room with a bunch of markers or paints or something like that, and said, "I want you to create this image," it would never happen.
Where'd you put it?
Where'd you put it? I dropped it in Slack in the CultCast thing. It's just not possible that this would be, come out the other end of, it's like the millions of monkeys typing. It's not possible. I cannot draw. I cannot ever. It's just not possible. But, I look at this cartoon art style thing, and I mean, I can absolutely see that on a page of Wired magazine.
Oh, I could too. I'm about to open this. At least for those of you watching, I could too. I mean, is it perfect all the time? No. A lot of it depends on your ability to prompt. I mean, you're going to get certain kinds of results for certain kinds of prompts. That's why everyone needs to be a prompt engineer. And I do think that there are certain kinds of styles that Midjourney defaults to, especially if you're asking it for pictures of like real people. But And I think maybe every LLM has its own specific look to it, maybe. But if you are able to prompt to a certain degree to fine tune it, I think you could end up with some really unique results. But unfortunately, I can't show this on the stream.
It's all right.
I
I mean,
can't open the browser. But I totally see what you're saying. Like, this could be an illustration in Wired Magazine. I completely agree with you. I'm like, for like these lower profile images that you just need to put as a header image for a story, I think generative AI is perfect for that type of stuff.
I mean, the thing is, if I'm browsing through Mastodon, I'm like, I see somebody's posted a link to an article, and it has an AI generated image on it. It makes me less interested. I don't want to read it, because if you can't be bothered to make an image for it, then like I can't trust that you've bothered to write it yourself either. And if the image looks like it was lazily generated, then I just don't trust that the content is going to be good or meaningful.
Sure, if it was lazy, I totally agree. That's why I think that you need to develop skill in prompting and understand how prompting works and create an image that looks interesting. And so you're using
personally speaking, a well prompted image isn't going to change my opinion on that.
I think it could. I mean, if you get something that someone spent time crafting the right language for in order to produce a creative result that looked realistic or looked unique, then you're still getting that human element, because the person is like using their language to make an image that is reflective of some kind of creative they're trying to achieve. Now, of course, the image itself is still being, manipulated and bolted together by AI, but it's almost like a collaboration at that point. It's like you're working with the machine to produce a specific result. It's doing most of the heavy lifting, but you're kind of acting as like the director. And so it still has a human touch, I think. But it's not ever going to be the same as a human artist creating something with a pen in their hand. The human touch is
I'm
inspired,
not asking for like freaking like 1800s like woodcut drawings to accompany every article, but I don't know.
I bet you it could do some pretty good woodcut drawings too.
It might be able to. Streamline from the chat is saying, I think AI art is like human art. Some is good and some is bad. I think that's a profound statement. I think he's right.
Yeah, I mean,
most human art is really bad. Although,
yeah,
it's as cheesy as it sounds, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Because my kids create something that conceptually, artistically is very bad, but I think is very beautiful, and it is a snapshot of their emotional and mental abilities and development in a certain point in time. And so I cherish it for that reason, right? And like, it's not good, but it's what they did. It's like a representation of their creativity, and so I love it for that reason. And that's something that I think that AI maybe will never do. It has no soul, because it has no soul. It's just it's an imitator. It's a machinator. It just takes things that people have made and mashes it into something, which doesn't necessarily make you feel like it's a new creation. Sorry, Lois, I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just say like we were talking about last week, using what image are you going to use to go along with a Today in Apple History post about Steve Wozniak working on Christmas to
I don't know.
create
Any
the
generally
Disk
young
2.
picture of Steve Wozniak, I think that's pretty egregious. Like creating a fake image of Steve Wozniak to accompany an article that's like, I think that was maybe the worst example of like,
It's obviously fake.
But the thing is, if you know absolutely nothing about Apple, you don't know that it's obviously fake. It's obviously fake to me and to you, because we know, oh, well, Steve Wozniak was young in 1977, but like...
Yeah, I do think there needs to be some kind of mechanism put in place from a technological perspective so that people know when something is AI. Like, we're not there yet. It's still the complete Wild West, and it's going to be Wild Westy for a long time. I don't see that going away anytime soon. But people... we'll need a way to know what's real and what's not real, and what's made by humans and what's made by machines. This is leading us into an episode of Terminator, but
I'm way more
think that we
interested in
should
the
be able
stuff
to
that's like
tell.
art style, cartoon art style, pop art style.
Yeah,
Not the stuff that's trying to be like realistic.
yeah, sure.
Although I thought that Wozniak image was hilarious.
I thought it was pretty dang good too. Like that was definitely Grok, wasn't it? I think you mentioned.
That was great.
Yeah, Grok's ability to make images of actual people is really crazy. All right, let me rattle off my wrist. Not my wrist. I could rattle off my wrist. It's 2:31.
Oh
We
my
gotta
god.
wrap this thing up. We've been live for almost 2 hours. Oh, over 2 hours.
Ugh.
Holy cow!
Well, we had like a half hours where we were just like talking about nothing.
That's actually
we've
true.
only although even despite that, this is a long episode.
This is a
at
long
an hour
episode.
45 so far.
All right, let me wrap it up. These are things that I enjoyed in 2024. They didn't necessarily come out in 2024, although they did probably come out at like the end of 2023 since they showed up in 2024 for me. Diablo 4, obviously, another game that I have just been loving. I mean, it's Diablo 3 Part 2, but if you like Diablo and the playstyle of Diablo, dude, it's just such a fun game. In fact, I'll be playing it probably all night tonight. I can't wait.
Oh my god.
Absolutely love Diablo. I'm playing as the rogue, and that's usually what I start as, and I just respect my guy last night because I was like, why do I have him I have him spec'd like all these like hand-to-hand combat scenarios. That's not what rogues are for. They're supposed to be, far away, ranged weapons, group skills that do group damage, or group skills, skills that do group damage. I mean, they're supposed to be fast and doing damage quickly and then running away. So I have been really enjoying Diablo 4. I'm just at the very beginning stages so far. I'm probably like maybe like 5% into the game.
My top game of last year was Tetris for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So
Of course,
definitely
that was
contributes to the
Nintendo.
video game
Oh, you've
topic.
upgraded from the Atari. I thought you were gonna say Snakes for Atari. I also loved Starfield. That epic was too beautiful to live, as the saying goes. Like that game is so massive in scale, and there's so much to do that eventually you get tired of it and you go play something else, and then you come back to it and you're like, I don't remember what's going on in this game anymore. There's way too many side missions. I don't remember how to fly this ship. But that game truly was beautiful and fun to play, and a technical achievement unlike any that I've really experienced, just exploring space and finding side missions and going to different planets and finding different armor and guns, and I mean leveling up your guy and his skills and everything. That was like so beautiful and so much fun, but just way too big. If you have kids, there's just a certain level of gameplay you can't commit to, and if you're single and you have no job and you're in college or high school, it's like you could probably play all the way through Starfield. I'm not there, unfortunately. I think far more suiting to my level of time is a game like Mario Party Jamboree, which is another iteration of Mario Party. If you know Mario Party, you love it. It doesn't ever change. They just keep coming out with new mini games. Mario Party for me is a game I don't even play that often. I just watch my kids play it. Like, my kids are old enough now where they can play games on their own. They love Mario Party. And all my 4 kids all get a Joy-Con, and they're just like playing Mario Party together. And I love to watch it. I like watching my kids enjoy video games. And this new series of Mario Party, I think, is one of the best that Nintendo has made. It's true to the series, and the mini games are super fun. And so we've been playing that together, and we've been loving it. I do want to highlight one product that I think is worth mentioning. Now, this did come out at the end of 2023. I think this is one of the most important cameras that has ever been released. And it's been one of the most transformative. You probably don't know that it has been. Maybe you do. But you've definitely seen it and its ability on YouTube. It is the DJI Osmo 3. It's a handheld small camera on a gimbal. I still have this stupid image up from what we were talking about before. That I bought that has taken over content creation. If you've ever watched YouTube, you've seen the DJI Osmo 3. And I'll talk about why it's so important here in a second, as soon as I can bring it up. Where the heck is it? Oh, that's why it's not coming up. I don't want the release date. I want the actual pocket. So the DJI Osmo is a super compact camera with a 1-inch CMOS sensor, which is a huge sensor for a camera of this size, on a little gimbal. A gimbal is like a little arm that allows the camera to move when you're walking. So it kind of absorbs like the shock of a camera that generally makes an image blurry or shaky when you're walking or running. So it delivers super smooth video But more important than that is the DJI Osmo Pocket is just a really excellent camera. It creates beautiful video in all sorts of highlight and low light situations. And just as a camera itself is impressive. Its ability to appropriately expose a person in a broad range of lighting scenarios is extremely impressive to me. It does it better than almost any camera that I've seen. I would say maybe even better than the iPhone does it. And then you pair it with the ability to absorb shock from walking and its ability to do low light video. So forever ago, I talked about how I loved the Sony cameras and especially the ZV-E1 because that thing could see in the dark. But I took that camera to Disneyland and I paired it against the Osmo Pocket 3. I haven't released any of this footage yet. It's on my list of things to do. And I couldn't believe it. The Osmo Pocket, kicked that thing's butt. Its ability to deliver stable footage on dark rides and produce a pleasing image in almost near black darkness kicked the ZV-E1's butt. Now, if you know anything about the Sony ZV-E1, it has one of Sony's best low-light camera sensors. And the ability or its image that it produced in low-light scenarios, I thought was not even close to the Osmo Pocket. That's what makes the Osmo Pocket such a super popular camera for documenting your life, for doing vlogs, for doing YouTube work. It also does 120 frames per second. Oh, by the way, it has an excellent camera built in, so you don't need a microphone, really. I mean, it comes in a creator pack where it comes with an additional DJI mic. I don't even think you need it because the inbuilt mic is so dang good. This camera is just exceptionally, well, it's exceptional in almost every facet of what you would want to have in a camera, which is why for the first 3 months when this camera released, you couldn't even get it because it's been so insanely popular. And I think it's just one of the best cameras ever made. And it's made by a drone company. Or are they a drone company? They've so far transcended that. In fact, there's rumors that they're going to be coming out with their own mirrorless camera in the next month or two that DJI is going to, because they are like the Apple of the camera and drone world. And their cameras are easy to use. Their drones are easy to fly. They produce exceptional results. The cameras create beautiful images and beautiful videos. And this one little gadget, I think, is probably all you need to start a YouTube channel. I mean, even do product reviews. I have all this video equipment, and I'm like, dude, I probably would just use my Osmo Pocket for a lot of this stuff because it's easy to use. It does everything I need, and it's easy to hold, doesn't kill your back, and it's not, $6,000. It's a $500 camera. So one of my favorite products of 2024, and probably will be one of my favorites of 2025 as I actually reboot my YouTube channel, Griffin.
I heard a rumor about that.
Oh, yes.
What's the resolution and frame rate that it does?
4K, 120 frames per second.
Does it do HDR?
I don't know if it does HDR. It might, but my suspicion is it's not very good HDR. Does anything do good HDR? I think the iPhone does the best HDR that exists. Dude, the iPhone 16 Pro is such an unbelievably amazing camera. And I don't say that hyperbolically in any way, shape, or form. I have done so many experiments on cameras, and the iPhone is able to deliver in such a unbelievably broad array of lighting and just life situations. It's not the best at everything, but it's damn good at just about everything.
It's crazy how you have to spend at least an extra 50% more for a dedicated camera than it costs for an iPhone to get a better video camera than the iPhone.
Yeah. And I will say the one thing that this camera does that almost no camera does is stabilize low light video. I think this is the king. I don't think there is a camera, unless you want to spend $10,000 on equipment. And even then, I don't know if you could beat this camera in stabilized low light footage. Because the iPhone and a lot of digital cameras will do tricks with the frame rate and things to stabilize their footage. And once you take them into low light scenarios, they can't use those same tricks because they need those tricks to make the video exposed correctly for the low light. And so having this camera on a gimbal, it delivers the best, smoothest low light performance of any camera that I've seen. and it's only $500. But yeah, I mean, to your point, this is just a camera for, $500, and the iPhone does so much more. But in any case, is there a YouTuber? There is a YouTuber that uses this camera, says Betty Reyes. Betty, every YouTuber uses this camera. It is ubiquitous now. Like, there's hardly a YouTuber that doesn't use this camera now because it's so dang good. Unless you're talking about the iPhone. I can't tell. All right, everyone. That's it. 2024 in the books. And if I do say so, strong start to 2025. Best start. I don't think a podcast has had a better start than us for 2025, but I haven't done any searching yet, so we'll see. But in any case, that's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. If you want to come hang out with us in the very exclusive Cult Club and support us, support the show. Support.thecultcast.com, support.thecultcast.com. And of course, me and Lewis are still duking it out on the all-new X. I'm at Airfon ERFWin. Lewis is at Lewis Wallace. Griffin is at D Griffin Jones on all the other platforms. He's holding down the fort everywhere else. All the platforms that me and Lewis don't go, that's where Griffin is. This has been the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening, for hanging out, for supporting the show. We really appreciate you all. Looking forward to 2025, and we will see you guys next time. Oh, I made it. I can just let my voice be its normal tone and texture.
Sounded rough.
We made it. Finally got through the show. Someone get my Marlboro Reds. Oh my gosh. I probably won't be able to talk for 3 days. My wife will love it.
Sweet relief.
She'll be so relieved. Nothing but whispers. That's the name of my new band, too. All right, everyone. That's it. Stop it. Bye, y'all.